It's crazy, everything's changing lately. Feels like we're winding down. No one around. Then you call and light up the darkness. Lead us on in a brand new way. Started today. Let's live this out. Get live, get loud. Full speed ahead, no time to waste. There is a way, I know. Come on, let's go. Let's begin, we're jumping in for free. No fear, we're shifting to high gear. Our course is set. Full speed ahead. Full speed ahead. No time to waste. There is a way, I know. Come on, let's go. Let's be now. We're jumping top. So let's shift into let's go. Of course,
This is absolutely awesome!
full speed ahead.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Who needs coffee on a morning like this? I mean, that was awesome by Russ and the band. Thanks for doing that. Hey, if you haven't heard, today is a special Sunday. This is the Sunday that we kind of set aside. Normally, under normal circumstances, it would be Qwanoes Takeover Sunday. They would come and they would take on the whole service. We're doing the same thing, but differently. And so we're going to have Scott Bayley join us here in just a second. He's the executive director from Camp Qwanoes. But before I introduce him, I just wanted to let you know what's going on. We're going to be giving away some prizes. So again, as Russ mentioned, make sure you're in the chat room because that's where it's all happening. I'm going to ask some trivia questions. And the first one to answer wins the prize. So you're going to have to be quick in those keyboards. I think the older crowd we're kind of done in on this one, but hey, we'll give it a try and see what happens. I'll announce all the winners at the end. We'll need information from the winners. You'll be notified just so we can get sizes and all that kind of stuff, your address and how to get the stuff to you. You'll also have a chance to ask Scott any questions that you may have about camp, from anywhere from, hey, what's happening next year to how do I get my kid there, all that kind of stuff. So without further ado, I want to welcome via Zoom from Camp Qwanoes itself, Scott Bayley. And there's Scott there. Hey, good morning, Scott. I hope you can hear me okay. Can you hear me okay there, Scott? He's looking at me, but he's not answering. We know this works, so just hang tight with us. We're just trying to get him dialed in on our side.
Oh, there you go. I can hear you.
There we go. Okay. I love mute buttons, don't you? So here we are. You're coming to us from Camp Qwanoes.
I'm here.
Yeah, and it's great to have you. It's hard to believe that this time last year, we were at the theater. The theme of camp was lighted up, and you had your big flashlight, and partway through your talk, the lights went off, and it all kind of fit together. But, yeah, and that was a year ago. So here we are, meeting in a different way, but we're still chatting with you. So maybe just take a second to introduce yourself, because some people watching this morning may not yet know you. So just maybe take just a quick second, just say who you are, what your role is at Camp Qwanoes, all that type of stuff.
Well, first of all, it's great to be back with you, Gary, and all of TNP. So I'm Scott Bayley. I'm the director here, executive director at Camp Qwanoes. And this isn't a green screen. This is live here. I'm on the Club Coco deck here at Camp Qwanoes. You're getting to see a bit of the view here. So I've been on staff here for many, many years. Yes.
How long have you been an executive director?
Well, I started as the assistant director, and that was back in '89. I became the executive director in '99. So it's a few years there, Gary.
Yeah.
Time has gone by fast.
Yeah, it has. So here's a quick question. You've been there for a lot of years, but then so's Camp Qwanoes. So what year did Camp Qwanoes start?
First camp in 1966. So this would be 55 years this year, 2021.
Wow. That's 1966. That's going back a bit. I was even around then.
Wow.
And so were dinosaurs. So here's I just want to ask this question because it's one that's always bugged me. And actually, I just kind of found out the answer this past week when we were talking. Why Qwanoes? Like, is that Greek or Latin for summertime or camp or something like that? Like, why Qwanoes? Why the name Qwanoes?
What I understand is back in the beginning, so as they were figuring it all out, and I think probably in 65 or early 66, there was a contest to come up with a name, and that's how the name was chosen, and it was put into the mix, and that was one that was selected. So where did it come from? It's actually from the First Nations in this area, and it means peace or tranquility, which I love that meaning. And then a number of years ago, we had a linguist that specialized in that language, and I was here at camp, and then came up to us and said, "Hey, you know that your name has great meaning?" And we said, "Yeah, it means peace or tranquility." And then he says, "Actually, it means something else." And so there's a little moment of a pause there. Oh no, what else does it mean? And he said, "It means new birth as well." And so I love that. I love that.
Yeah, because that's what you guys are all about, and we're going to get into that in just a second. Now, one of the things I just wanted to touch on this, because I think this is really important as well, is every year that you guys come, we always say to everybody that we as a church are part owners or co-owners with Qwanoes. And so maybe explain really quickly what that means. Like, do we pay the mortgage? Do we pay your hydro bill? What does that mean to be an owner?
Well, actually, I mean, to me, I got to tell you, it means everything. And like today, I think we're going to touch on some things, I hope we can, that really help bring this ownership just to a whole new level. So I'll tell you where it starts. To me, where it starts, this idea of ownership, is a church looking around their community and seeing so many kids, so many children, so many youth, and realizing that like there's so many to reach, and wondering if they could reach them more if they had a camp. And then thinking, well, that's probably going to be hard to start a camp. But then thinking, what if I got together with some other churches? And what if we could combine all our efforts? And that's really what is going on here. It's a bunch of churches that are saying together, we could look what we could do together to reach children and youth. If we combined our efforts, we could reach them in a different way than we could if we were just a church on our own. And so that's how it started. And there's about 40 churches. TNP is one of them. Churches like Central Baptist in Victoria, or Campbell River Baptist, Maple Ridge Baptist, South Delta Baptist, Ocean View, Parksville. It's all these churches coming together, doing things that they could never do on their own, combining just all these strengths from all these different places, but each trying to do the same, which is reach their neighborhood, the children and youth in their neighborhood, and helping the other churches do the same.
Yeah,
that's how I think about it. And really, like for me, I see myself on staff at the meeting place. It's just you don't see me there a lot in your staff meetings, but that's how we function. It's like we are part of the church. And technically, there's a society called Camp Qwanoes. It's a Camp Qwanoes society, and so the meeting place is part of that. That's ownership.
Yeah. And I think that's important to know that through the Fellowship Pacific, which is who we belong to as a church, we partner with them voluntarily, and they believe in the autonomy of the church, so we get to do our own things and all that. But just how when we come together, we can leverage that power. And so, it's really cool because you can reach kids in a way that we could never hope to. So thanks for that. But I've got people in the chat room hey, prizes. So here's the first question, okay? So again, if you're in the chat room, you got to be in the chat and be as quick as you can with the answer. So here's the first question. And you can look at my shirt for the answer if you like. What year did Camp Qwanoes start? 1986, 1996, 1936, or 1812? Okay, so first one in.
That's an easy question. Too easy.
That was too easy. It's going to get harder as we go along here.
You like your shirt, though, Gary. I like what you're wearing. I really do like that.
Yeah, it actually fits, too. Yeah, it's so here we are. Plans for 2020. We were talking earlier in the week. You guys had all your plans set out like you do every year. And then March hit. and along with it, COVID. And that changed everything for not just, churches and organizations and, all of us, but for camp as well. So maybe just tell us a little bit about what that meant for you guys heading into summer.
Well, of course, it's mid-March. I just come back from a spring break trip, and I'll never forget, I was just back on Monday. It was just past mid-March, and sitting in my office with a couple other staff are trying to figure things out. A knock came on the door, and they opened the door and said, "Oh, Bonnie Henry just said that the number's gone from 250 now for a meeting to 50. And from that day onward, almost like every day, every week, there was change. And at that point, though, we were just thinking about, oh, what is that going to mean for April? What is it going to mean for May? And we couldn't even imagine at that point that the summer would actually be affected. And so we decided right away at the beginning that no matter what, we're going to be ready, we're going to be prepared for the summer. And I never fully grasped that that may not be able to happen. And of course, that's we started going through April, May, and getting more concerned. And then end of May, the big announcement came from Bonnie Henry's office that overnight camps were not going to be allowed in BC. And so, Gary, I got to tell you that was a devastating news to all of us. And we had been on track to welcome more campers than we had ever had at camp. We were on track to welcome about 4,500 campers. And they were going to come from, all backgrounds up and down the island throughout Greater Vancouver. It was a 10-week summer, so we had an extra week, and now it was gone.
Wow.
So that was, it's just hard to fathom. Like, that's the essence of what we're all about here at camp, and just realizing, all that could have happened in their lives. But I have to tell you that, I thought a lot, through that time, especially in May, and especially when that news came, wondering, well, what is Qwanoes all about? Well, we do overnight camps, but that's what we do. But the key was to think through what are we all about, and what we're all about is loving kids to life. So if you've heard me say that lots, it's loving kids to life. That's what we're all about, and we normally do it through overnight camps. But now we couldn't do overnight camps, at least then and still now. So the question was, well, how do we live out that purpose in a different way? And so we knew we wanted to have kids here somehow. And so we were trying to figure out how to be a licensed childcare center, because that's an essential service, and we knew we could have kids. But then in early June, Bonnie Henry's office said, you can do day camps. And so we were thrilled we could do day camps. But here we are in June, we had 0 registrations. Meanwhile, there's all these questions for summer staff. Like they're thinking, is there going to be a camp? Should I do something else? And all these questions are just swirling around. But we could do day camps, and so we started putting up posters around town. And staff training came just a few weeks after that. And I'll never forget, every night at the end of staff training, I'd always give an update to staff. And so I'm pretty sure that's the first night. And I said, okay, guys, we have 11 kids coming to day camp number 1. Wow. And, we were praying and sometimes, I remember one day we sent people with flags to the highway in Duncan. And then the next day at staff training, I think it was like 19 guys. And then it was like 27, coming. Yeah.
And put that number in perspective for people. Like you say, 11, 19, 27, but on a normal summer, how many kids would be coming? Like, just so people can have a context for that.
And we never take it for granted, but normally we would have about 420 kids every week.
Wow.
Coming. But I have to tell you that we were excited for the 11, we were excited for the 19, because only a couple of weeks before we thought it was going to be 0 coming to camp. And so I don't know if you have, I have one of these pictures that I sent to you, but I'll never forget the first day of the first day camp in summer 2020. There was about 55 kids coming that week. And the way we had to run it with all the COVID guidelines, we split it in half. And so the first group was in Q-Town. It was under 30 kids in Q-Town, Gary, where normally there's 600 kids. And so there's Russ and the band up on the stage, and everybody spread out, because of COVID and everything. But I have to tell you that Russ and the band, they played like that room was packed. and all the staff sought to give the same care and attention and energy and effort, not caring how many kids were there. All we knew is that kid was there.
Yeah.
You know, that boy was there, that girl was there, and I just knew that God was going to be doing something very special here, all the way through. And like so many things had to happen to make it work. We had and maybe we'll talk about this later, but like the meeting place, like you guys were so awesome, just in so many different ways. One was helping send buses, and Departure Bay Baptist in Nanaimo sent some buses, and Central Baptist helped send buses, and we worked with the Chemainus Best Western to offer a special deal so people from the mainland could maybe stay there and send their kids to camp. So Garry, I have to tell you that we did 10 weeks of day camps, and by the end, there was almost 1,200 kids that came to day camps, and maybe I'll get a chance to share some of the stories. But
definitely, we want to hear those stories. So we'll just keep things moving along here. We're going to give away some more gear here. That first question, the winner gets a hat, okay? And it hasn't been worn. Russ never wore it. And now we're going to give away a T-shirt, Qwanoes T-shirt. And here's the question. It's another easy one, Scott. We can't make it too hard on people. What does the word Qwanoes mean? New life and new birth, leafy and leather-like, as the spirit leads, or tastes like chicken?
Came up with these hard questions.
Yeah, I know. They're gonna. Oh, the first winner, I'm being told, was the Erickson family. So they won the hat. So they're gonna have to fight over it. I'd love to be there. And so while we're here, let's just do one more. What is the name of Camp Qwanoes' superhero? You're going to probably have to be a kid to answer this one. Is it Qbert, Captain Q, Q-Man, or Super Q? So that's the next question, and that is for a sweatshirt, a coveted sweatshirt. Same one I'm wearing. So there you go. And we'll announce the winners here in a minute. What are the plans for this year? I mean, if one thing we've learned with COVID is take any plans you had and kind of throw them out the window and just adjust as you go along. But, you know, that's hard to do with an organization like you guys have. So maybe the kids that are watching or the parents are like, so what's happening this summer? So as of right now, today, what are the plans going into summer?
So again, to figure this out, we think to ourselves, we're all about loving kids to life. So what is that going to look like now? And so here's what we've just launched, actually, our brand new theme, and you saw a bit of the video there. And so we are going to run day camps again. We're pretty sure that it's not looking the best for overnight camps. And so we're going to offer day camps again, and they're going to be great. And we're going to do all we can to make them even more accessible. If we can run overnight camps, we will add them. And so we're going to plan and prepare like we are going to be able to do overnight camps. If we can't, okay, we're going to be very sad, but if we can, we'll add them. But if we add overnight camps, we're not going to cut the day camps, because if people have already signed up for them, we want them to come. So Garry will run day camps and overnight at the same time if we're allowed. And so here's what we're also really excited about is we're working together with the meeting place again. It's so awesome. And Departure Bay Baptist as well. From Nanaimo, the intent is to have a bus from Nanaimo every week to make camp a bit more accessible for people to come down every day from Nanaimo, because the day camp is Monday to Friday. And then we're doing the same in Victoria. We're hoping to have lots of weeks covered with buses in Victoria. The other thing is, keep in mind that 60% of our campers come from the Lower Mainland, all through Metro Vancouver. And so last year, they're pretty much all cut off. Which was heartbreaking. And so I couldn't imagine having 2 years in a row of mainland not being able to come. So we've just launched or announced something on Friday called Mainland Express. And so what we're going to do is work with lots of churches and youth leaders and pastors and children's leaders. And we're going to have a leader every day from Monday to Friday for all 9 of those weeks. So that's 45 days. And so there's a way now that mainlanders can sign up and come for 1 day. And we'll let them maybe come for 2 days. They'll meet at 7 o'clock in the morning at the ferry, come over, have the whole day, and go back that night. So that's something we just announced. The other thing is we had to get some kayaks for a change we had to make in our Kaleo program, because a normal trip was canceled. And so we figured out another way to do it. we've got all these kayaks, and for years actually we've dreamed about, I wonder if we could do a kayak program. And so this is the year. We just announced it on Friday, and it's called Sea Quest, and it's an overnight kayak adventure camp, and we can meet COVID guidelines with this. And so that's something that we announced.
Oh, nice.
So there's a bunch of things going on. We're also going to have to do auctions again as well. We did 3 last year because we still have to raise a lot of money to make it through. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that later, but we have to raise a lot of money to make it through. So that's going to be part of the year. But I have to tell you, we're super excited. God is going to be at work. Day camps, maybe overnight camps, Sea Quest, Mainland Express buses. And so we're going to do all we can to connect with kids again.
Yeah, that's really cool, just to make that opportunity available to as many people as you can. Just to announce winners, second winner was Doris, the t-shirt and the sweatshirt. Bree won that. So we'll be getting a hold of you guys for your information. But Scott, you know, you guys mentioned earlier, like your whole mission, and you eat, live, breathe, and bleed this stuff, is to love kids to life like no other. I mean, that's what you're all about. Every time I talk to you, that's what drives you. That's what swings your feet out of bed in the morning, I'm sure. So maybe share with us some stories that stood out for you from this past summer. You know, this huge obstacle, like, oh, I don't know what we're going to do. This is a disaster. But yet God showed up. He provided in so many ways. And so you had these day camps. So maybe share some stories, some quick stories about that you heard on how God loved these kids to life.
Yeah, love to do that. And one thing I'll say is I did notice that we had some kids here that wouldn't maybe have come to an overnight camp for some reasons, that maybe it just didn't work. And so we had some kids we wouldn't have seen. And I have to tell you that we saw more kids that don't normally have anything to do with the church. In fact, every week we had so many counselors tell us that there's kids in their group that are atheists. You know, and their parents told them, don't listen to any of the, you know, God things. And so we realized early on that we have maybe an extra unique opportunity here, working with kids that maybe otherwise we wouldn't have had a chance to. Yeah. And so I just quickly went through some of the notes in the summer, Garry. I'm just going to read off some of the things here that some counselors shared here. So here's one. A counselor shared this, said, this morning a boy came, or this is something in our Beach Betties. It was actually my mom shared this story. So this morning a boy came into the store. I recognized him from past years. I said hi. I told him it was good to see him and asked if he was staying with family or friends over here, as I knew he lived on the mainland. And then the boy said, I was devastated. And my mom said, that's what he said. And the boy said, when I heard that camp would not be able to run this summer, when my mom heard that Qwanoes could do day camps, she and my grandma booked a hotel over here so I would be able to come. They knew how much I wanted to be here. So that was really encouraging. Wow. Another counselor said, one of my boys does not have a good home life. He said, if my mom had to choose anything rather than me, she would. He asked me, how do I know God is real? And can you trust him? It's so great at camp when people can ask these questions, these life questions, these life-altering questions. A counselor said, Q-Town means hope. The music convinced me to listen. I used to be so angry at God for what he had made happen in my life, but Qwanoes made me realize that despite everything, God loved me. And he did it for a reason. Every week, all these discoveries that are made at camp. Another staff member shared, this morning when the kids were coming off the bus, we had flags and we were doing the arch and cheering. I heard one say to his friend, this feels like heaven. So there's something about coming to camp, just this environment, this different place where you can just tell and experience that you're accepted for who you are. Yeah. You know, by people who actually care for you. I'll share another one here. This was from one of our activity leaders. It said, when I was walking to the challenge course on the second day of day camp, I overheard two girls talking on a bench by the skate park. As I passed, all I heard was, there's just so much love in this place. I was struck by just how quickly they'd come to notice that fact. And it shows me that there is a powerful love at work here, right the moment they arrive. God is at work in these kids' lives, even in their private conversations. It's just every day we saw God working. Gary, if I can just share another one here.
You have to make it quick.
And I know you,
because there's something else
okay.
we would need to talk about. So you're going to have to,
like,
I know.
I got to tell you this one.
Yeah.
So you shared this back in September, and it's one of the highlight stories for me.
Yeah.
And you mentioned this in September. And so we had a 17-year-old counselor, and she had just graduated from school in Nanaimo. And she told us early in the summer that she had really looked up to her science teacher, who was an atheist. And she said to us that this teacher had told her that when she found out she was coming to camp, he said, well, that's kind of silly. So this is what she came to camp having her teacher just tell her. During the summer, they had a grad thing, and so she went to a local restaurant in Nanaimo, saw the teacher there. And teacher started asking her about camp, and so the counselor told her how much fun kids were having, and how really it was a great time. Then this science teacher said, "Oh, I have some kids, and I wonder if my kids would enjoy coming to camp." Well, guess what? This apparently atheist science teacher decided to send his daughter to camp. And then guess who her counselor was? The counselor was this girl who was in his class. And then guess how this girl got to camp? She got to camp on the bus that you guys helped send to Camp Qwanoes. And guess who she sat by on the bus? This girl sat by her dad's, the girl in her dad's class. And they sat together each week, coming in and out.
Wow.
And so you guys made that all possible. And so actually earlier you asked me what partnership is. And so I just need to tell you that's partnership.
Yeah.
Is
Wow.
we work together there. And this girl, her life changed at camp that week. And she discovered things she'd never heard before.
Yeah.
About God, and how God cared for her and loved her and made her, and how there's purpose in life. And she learned things she had no idea of.
Wow.
And so later through the summer, she would often contact her counselor and ask her other questions. And even in the fall, I heard from this counselor that this girl was still connecting with her, asking questions. She went home with the Bible. She never had one of those before, and she discovered God.
Wow.
At camp, and so that's what we do. We do it together. This is what camp is all about.
Yeah. God continually provides. Oftentimes some life happens and we see obstacles. God sees opportunities, and sometimes we just need to trust Him through that. So we're going to give something else away here, and then we're going to ask you another question here. So this one, the kids will be all over this one because I had no idea. Here's the question: where can you get a milkshake from camp? The Chocolate Drop, Scott's House, Club Coco, or Coco Loco? Okay, so first one in.
Who came up with these questions, Gary?
Wins a T-shirt. I don't want to say. Wasn't me. All right, and one more. Well, I'll save this one till the end because it kind of fits in with what we're doing at the end here. But one last question for you. God, we're talking about how God provides, and He always gives us an option, a way to move forward. And you did that with day camps, but you guys as a camp, He provided for you guys as a camp. So maybe just quickly share with people that are watching how God showed up, because you guys had, obviously a huge budget shortfall and all that, and just how God was faithful in that and met you guys in that need.
It's unbelievable, Gary, what happened. And so right from mid-March onward, we lost our juniors retreat. Then next, we lost our young adults retreat. But could we run our family retreats? Then we lost our family retreats. We'd always wait till about a month before, and then of course lost overnight camps. And so just like that, 75% of the budget's gone. We weren't able to run any of our retreats, all 11 retreats we couldn't run in the year. We lost 99% of guest groups, that's schools and churches that come to camp, overnight camps. And so we knew from April onward that the gap to be able to continue was 1.35 million. It's a big number, yeah. 1.35 million. And so what we learned, or what was able to happen, is we all grew in our faith, in our trust of God. Because, well, I have to tell you that in staff meetings from April onward, I thought, I'm going to just make sure everybody knows up front what's going on. Let's not try to hide anything. And so I would start talking about our line of credit every week. So Gary, I would tell, hey guys, our line of credit's at 100,000 next week. Now it's at 150. Now, a few weeks later, now it's at 200. The line of credit was at, I think it got to like negative 345,000, and we're coming near the max. There's no money coming in except people that are supporting us. And it's just amazing what happened. And we'd have, well, you guys, like Gary, you guys said, oh, we're going to give you some money. And another church said, we're going to give you some money. And we did an auction, we did a fundraising drive in June, we did another one midsummer. And just to see the way people responded, it's really incredible. Then the line of credit started going down. We came to the end, our year end, and we could see that the gap had gone from 1.35 to 300,000, which is amazing. Wow. But it was still 300,000. And so we thought, okay, we got to do one more fundraising drive. And I remember actually thinking, should we actually announce the goal as 300? Yeah. So I thought, in the last fundraising one in the summer, it was awesome, but we raised just over 200,000, that was amazing. Yeah. How could we announce 300? That's such a big goal. And then we realized, well, that's what our need is. Yeah. So that's gonna be the goal, and we'll have a 10-day drive. We'll take December as the time. And I just have to tell you, like, God just overwhelmed us again. People gave $10, some gave $50, and all these different amounts. We launched a GoFundMe campaign, which we'd never done before. Yeah. And all of a sudden we started going, oh, we're actually going up in the number. And when in the last few days in December, it was unreal. And especially December 31st, I've never experienced anything like it. It was like a telethon kind of, but people would give a gift, and I'd email some people, and our gap is this much, and then it's this much. And in the last few minutes of December 31st, we reached the 300 level. Wow. What that meant was it didn't just mean that we had reached the 300,000 goal. It actually meant the entire financial need from the impact of COVID, which is 1.35. Yeah. It actually meant that all of that had been met. Wow. That was God doing it. Yeah. God totally did that. And not only that, but he kept us safe from COVID in the summer. We had zero COVID. Yeah. Not only that, but he brought the staff we needed. Because imagine staff going, well, should I come to camp? There's going to be no camp. And they trusted to come to camp. Yeah. Not only that, but he brought campers. And then he was at work. He brought buses. These crazy churches, the meeting place, Departure Bay, sending buses to camp and financially helping us. And I know this verse for today in Philippians. I love this verse. Yeah. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Because we prayed so much every night. Almost every night in the summer, we'd have a prayer team, and they'd meet at the Q Rock Tower. Sometimes it'd be 10, sometimes it'd be 30 people. And they would just pray. I think at first some thought, well, I'm assigned to praying. What are we going to do? And I think everybody realized, well, this is actually the heart of the whole thing. Yeah. And it says in Philippians to tell God what we need. And so we did that. I have to tell you, I prayed a lot. God, we need this. We need you to do this. And then we have to thank him. Yeah. Because God provided all the way through. He took care of us all the way through. Yeah. No, that's really encouraging to hear, because it can be really easy, like I mentioned, to focus on the obstacle instead of focusing on, the hope that we have, which is found in God. So I want to say thanks for joining us, Scott. We got some more stuff coming up here. I'm going to give away another T-shirt or a sweatshirt. Here's the question. What is Russ Smith's Qwanoes nickname? When he was on staff there, he had his nickname. Was it Baldy, Rabbit, Squirrel, or Mr. Cool? First one to answer that wins the sweatshirt. And one last thing, a CD of this is all the songs from the themes through the years. And Russ is going to sign it, so whoever wins it will get their name, and he'll put, to so-and-so, whoever wins it. And here's the question. This is the last question. Where is Qwanoes located? Port Hardy, Victoria, Nanaimo, or Crofton? First one in. Signed CD from the answer from the last question, which is, well, they answered it by now, I think. Squirrel. There we go. Excellent. Thank you, Scott, for joining us. I told you the time would go quick, and we're actually over time a little bit, but that's okay. It's just so cool to hear how God
shows up, continues to show up. He's going to show up this summer, even though we're heading into it not knowing what's going to happen exactly. But thanks for tuning in. You're going to be in the chat room after this. So I would invite anyone that's watching, if you have a question for Scott, he will be in the chat room following this. So make sure you feel free to ask him any questions. But we're going to have Russ and the band come up here, sing some more songs, and then we have something
Garry,
special for you at the end.
Garry, I just want to say one last thing. I just want to say a huge thank you to you and all of the meeting place. You guys made such a big difference, allowing us to make it through.
Yeah, you betcha. Yeah, and we're there with you. So let me pray for us, and then we'll carry on with our morning. God, again, we just thank you that we don't have to worry. And not that that's easy to do. It's very simple, but it's not easy to do. But you ask us to just trust you and just take one step at a time. And you'll lead us, and you'll be there for us. And we just hear story after story of that happening in people's lives individually and as organizations, like we heard this morning from Camp Qwanoes, how you just continue to provide financially and spiritually for, not just the campers that were coming, but the staff and the counselors and the students. So we just thank you that you're that kind of God. And as we continue on in this Who series, that's just part of who you are. You are a God that provides. And we just want to say thank you. Thank you for providing for us. And we pray all of these things in your awesome name. Amen.